Welcome back, Flyers Nitty Gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Yariv, Wolok, and friend of the show, part of the team, and his own entity, Chris Maher. I said it right this time. Chris, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, dude? How are you? Thanks for having me on, reaching out. Lots to talk about. It should be fun.
Yeah, totally a lot to talk about, and it is going to be fun. And I'm going to do this because I keep forgetting to do this. Thank you to Jim Steaks, Steaks on South. Buy some cheesesteaks. Buy it from Jim's. Don't you dare buy from anybody else. All right, good enough. All right, let's get into it. So let's just talk about we'll start talking about the games, and then we went over this pre-show, but we'll start talking about the games, and then we'll get into individual players. But if we mix it in between, I don't really care. All right, so Flyers beat Calgary in a pretty hard-fought game, a game where I would say the first period probably didn't go their way completely, but something that we've seen definitely of late, and definitely of this team, I would say maybe even all season, is that as the game rolls on, especially second half of the game, they do get their shit together. And they seem to, I don't want to say dominate, but they definitely press the play. They own a lot of possession at that point. They get considerably more scoring chances in the second half of the game than the first half of the game. Not that shocking considering this team's history. But they've also had some good first periods as opposed to last year. It was all bad first periods. So pretty good game against Calgary. A game that I wouldn't say could have lost. I think they really were in control of the game, especially after Kevin Hayes scored his goal in the second period, which is obviously a huge momentum boost. But it did kind of feel like the Flyers kind of owned that game after that goal. And then obviously going into overtime, Cam Atkinson finishes it. And you go back a little bit in that game if the Chuck does score on that wide open net, though, he never really had clear possession, so he wasn't even close. He was just frustrated. That probably would have been a different game. That could have been a much tougher experience. What did you think about the Flyers in that one?
Well, look, I felt like the first period wasn't great in the first, I'd say, 10 minutes or so when Calgary opened the scoring from Shillington.
Yep. It was a bad bounce too, though.
They didn't. Yeah, and it wasn't the fact that they didn't necessarily play bad. It was just it was a very similar start to when it was when they last played Calgary. They were able to get the puck in, but then Markstrom would go out and play it, Flames would go right back up. And it kind of felt like that was the entire game the last time they played Calgary, and they wanted to kind of take that away. But as you were kind of saying there in the second, the Flyers woke up. They got more scoring chances. In the third period, they were very aggressive. Obviously, Hayes, the goal, the celebration, everything was fantastic. And they were able to tie the game. Now, the good thing is that Carter Hart was great. And we've seen that a lot this year. I'm not going to apologize for good goaltending because Carter Hart plays for the Flyers, so why would I? Or any of us, really. But, it just felt like that third period, the Flyers were pressing. They had their chances. Calgary only had 5 shots in that third period. Shots were 14-5 in favor of the Flyers.
And so overall 43 to 30. Overall 43 to 34. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, they were definitely going at them there. And JVR ended up hitting a post in that period. So that game could have ended in regulation for the Flyers. And the one thing I've loved about their third periods is the fact that if they're either down or they're tied, or if they're up a goal, they're able to either close it out. We've already seen it a couple times in the home opener and last night against Tampa. They've been able to come back and score in the last minute and at least get a point out of it. Or in some cases later in the season, maybe they win those games. Who knows? But, Hart's been really good. And I feel like in the Calgary game, they were able to kind of use that to their advantage because Hart was making good saves for them. And then throughout their overtime can go either way. And I felt like the goal from Atkinson was perfect because I thought he had a pretty underrated game, and then he ends up getting that goal. I think he broke an 8-game goal streak.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. Yeah.
So, and again, I thought that was just like a technical kind of play, like the shot pass off the pad from Couturier.
Yep. Straight out of NHL 21.
Yeah, exactly. But
Chris, I don't mean to cut you off, but your mic is kind of cutting in and out a little bit. I don't know if your mic is on, if it's feeding into your mic or it's feeding into the computer. Because I feel like usually your audio is a little bit better.
That better?
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I mean, I feel like for the most part, their goaltending has been good, and they've had a considerable amount of games where Hurts kept them in it. But the good thing is that they've been able to pick them up and they've been able to win some games. But I felt like Calgary was definitely a good start, especially with the ceremony before the game for Tocchet and Holmgren, and then you have honestly that game kind of felt like a playoff game. So being honest with you, it was back and forth. Both teams had their chances.
It was a great game. Yep.
Tenders played well. It was low scoring, and then 3-on-3 overtime. I mean, that was really the last two games. 3-on-3 overtime has been really good showing for the Flyers. And then last night's overtime against Tampa was crazy.
Well, we'll get into that. Let's not get off topic. We'll get into that one too. No, yeah, totally agree with what you're saying. I think overall, I think that's the way the Flyers really want to play, especially in that second half of that game, right? Like they simplified their game. They were more aggressive. They took their physicality up. Their possession play, and I brought this up, I think this is the last time we were recorded too. Their possession play is like still not where it needs to be. Like a lot of stuff is like dump the puck or wheel it around. And, they're just not moving the puck. And you're seeing that on the power play. They're just not moving it swiftly. They're not executing to a game plan offensively as well as they were in the beginning of the season or, as well as they're capable of overall. I think it's kind of the annoying thing for me. And I like what you said about Gaudreau. Not Gaudreau, I'm sorry. I see his name in front of me, Atkinson. I brought this up before. We've definitely talked about it. I want to see Atkinson play with Couturier and Giroux. Now they put Giroux, and obviously I'm getting off topic a little bit here too, but that Giroux is playing with Atkinson now. But I've always kind of seen it as like, why are we not putting the goal scorer with the playmaker? Why is he not on the top line? Kind of really didn't understand that. We're still not necessarily seeing that. But overall, I thought it was a really good way to come back. I thought it was a great game. And another example, Markstrom has been great. He had a great season last year, I think, as well. He's an older goalie at this point, but he's definitely making his career. His guy struggled a little bit younger. I still think Carter Hart is better than him, even right now. People might think that that's controversial, but I think
the two of them are having great seasons for their respective moment. So I
think Calgary has played better defensively than the Flyers, at least at points this year.
Defensive team, and it's not even active. Like
I think it's Sutter.
Coaching.
I think it is coaching. I think it's the coaching. I'm not loving our coaching this year.
Honest. This is kind of off topic, but look, I feel like the coaching has been so-so. I haven't necessarily loved the lines the last couple of games. Kind of what you were saying with Giroux, with Brassard and Atkinson. I feel like that's okay, but I think if you had a healthy Kevin Hayes, that line would be a hell of a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't necessarily love the Farabee with Coots and JVR. I know it worked last year, but they really didn't do anything in that last game.
No.
And again, look, I get it. It's Tampa Bay, but you had a 2-0 lead. You know what I mean? Like, and again,
they had zero possession at that point.
They were lucky that it was 2-2 after the second period, because that game could have been 4-2, 5-2 Tampa.
Yeah, I not to knock you on that one. I don't like saying that stuff because it wasn't. You know what I mean? It's like, because there's opportunities where the Flyers could have been up, not in that game specifically, but there's other games where, Flyers could have been up 4-0, but they weren't, and at the end of the day, it's almost like that part doesn't matter, but I do understand what you're saying. Like, I totally get what you're saying, because they were getting dominated. By Tampa Bay. And I think that's what you're trying to emphasize there, is that the game got completely away from them. And it's not the first time I've
seen it, is why I'm mentioning it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. So yeah, let's just get into the Tampa game, since it's the most fresh and probably what's most on everybody's mind at this point. So the Flyers come back against Tampa. Flyers are starting the game off, I would say, decent. They take a 2-0 lead, though, even though they didn't play their best hockey. They take that in the second period. Tampa Bay is all over them. They completely dominated, like you were saying, completely dominated that period. And then they, go into the third period, have a pretty strong period. I would say they actually owned that period. It wasn't a domination or anything, but they definitely played the way they should have. And we're coming at Tampa.
One shot. Actually, they didn't have any shots at the 11:31 TV timeout.
Right. Yeah. It was very much controlled by the Flyers, but then your sound didn't come through there. There's still something going on with your sound. I feel like your microphone are you using a laptop mic?
No, I'm using my.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, because you've never had a problem before. I've never heard an issue before.
Plug in. So
okay.
I don't know what the issue is.
Okay. I don't know either. Well, whatever. It's not that bad. Where were we? Oh, so going into the third, the Flyers blew their lead, like you said. They were essentially dominating the shots. But then Steven Stamkos, with about 2 minutes left, gets a sneaky one in past Hart, which I hear is an equipment malfunction. Fine, whatever. But it's the weakest goal that Hart has given up anything by far of late. It was shocking to even see it, to be honest, because of how well he played. And he played really well in that game.
It's not surprising, though, because of how well he's been playing.
It's
you had to think at some point he was going to give up one of those goals. It's you know
he's
what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I wasn't mad. I was mad in the fact that it was with 1:56 left in the third. Yeah. And then I was like, well,
you weren't mad at him.
At some point.
You weren't mad at him. You weren't like, Hart, what the fuck? He's keeping us in games. So,
why they're 8-4-3.
Yeah. So. And then let's just fast forward real quick and then we'll go through it completely. And then Claude Giroux, Captain Claude the hero, scored. Well, first of all, his first goal of the game was gorgeous. And then he scores with 8 seconds left in regulation, just above 8 seconds left in regulation. Flyers pull the goalie desperately. They did own possession in the offensive zone, which was nice to see. They were getting chances. And then he sneaks one in past Vasilevsky, goes into overtime. Overtime is very much back and forth. Fantastic overtime, like really, really great 3-on-3. Could have gone either way, but I think the Flyers maybe even had the better of chances a little bit. And then the shootout is not our bread and butter.
Never has been.
Yeah, like Couturier had a terrible. I don't know what he was thinking on that one.
Vasilevsky was already down before he shot it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Coots right now, and that's what we'll talk about him.
With Atkinson, like his breakaway in overtime, you can't go 5-0 on Vasilevsky. He's just too big.
Yeah, he's got like the quickest legs in the league, I think, as well.
If anything, like I'd love to see Cam just go in and rip it like Point did in the shootout.
Yeah. So Giroux went backhander, got beat, and then Hart gets beat on both of his shots by two fantastic players. But Hart's never been amazing at the shootout. I wouldn't say that that's like his best aspect, but he's pretty young still. He'll probably get better at that as he moves forward.
I feel like a 3-on-3 overtime like that. Like, how does the NHL look at that still? And they're like, this game was great to end in a shootout. You know what I mean? Like, how do you keep looking at 3-on-3 overtime? It's been one of the best products they've put out since it entered the league in 2015, and it's only a 5-minute period. I feel like at this point, it's like you got it. If I'm being honest, Jason Martinez said it on Flyers Daily last night. He said the 3-on-3 should be 10 minutes, and then if for some reason it's still scoreless after the 10-minute period, then both teams should just get a point and it should be a tie. And that's how
I'll be honest with you, I don't really have a strong objection to that. I don't know about going back to ties. I don't know how that'll sit with people, but
I feel like it would just.
I like it better than a shootout.
Yeah, because we still get a point. We don't lose. We don't win. So
yeah. Well, I just don't like shootouts because it's not part of the game.
But the thing is too is like
it's not hockey,
right? It's like if you're being honest, if you add a 10-minute period of 3-on-3, how many ties are you going to have this season?
A lot less. No.
2.
Totally. It's even happened with the 5-minute overtime, right? They already cut down on the shootouts considerably. And I was like joking around with my roommate the other night because he was like, they should have another 5-on-5 period. I was like, oh, absolutely. I was like, I agree with that. I was like, it's like the NBA having a dunk competition to decide the winner in overtime. It's like, okay. It's like, it doesn't really make any sense. It's like, it's just a skills competition. It doesn't prove what team is better than the other. So that's kind of, I think the 3-on-3 is great. And I would be very open to what you're saying. I think we would see a lot of weird things reflected in the standings. Like I think teams that are doing better because of the the shootout, that momentum is going to be completely taken away from them, which would be nice. Maybe you'll kind of shift the balance of things a little bit here and there.
Exactly. And
don't
that's
hate
the
it.
thing. I feel like it would just add more of the aspect of if you're trying to bring people into hockey and everything. I think adding a period of 3-on-3, I think that would be awesome. I mean, we've seen it in overtime before. We saw it on Tuesday. It ended in what was it, 38 seconds in? And then last night goes the full 5 minutes, chances both ways, goalies are making crazy saves. Like, there's so many different ways you can look at it. I think the average of ties in the league would probably be 2 if they did that.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I think even if you keep the shootout, which I like what you're saying more because you don't have to make them stay longer and play more. So maybe that's what the compromise is, right? Because you're just no more shootout, but you do another 5-minute 3-on-3, or do 2 halves that are 4 minutes or something if they don't want to do full 10 minutes. But just to let them play more of the 3-on-3, it's more entertaining. Like, that's the reality too. It's fantastic. It's just great hockey.
It's very nerve-wracking. Like, it's
yeah.
And like, if you like, and obviously, like, I mean, it happened in the home opener when everybody in the 100 level bowl was just standing and you couldn't see past somebody's head. And I'm sure it was the same thing last night, but I was like on my tippy toes, like watching like this, like trying to see the play.
Yeah.
They had, they tie it and everything. And like, and what I loved about the Drew goal to tie the game was the fact that Broussard won the faceoff like clean. Like, you knew it was a set play, and the Flyers have done that a lot this year. Set plays, like, some of them they scored on, some of them they haven't, but they've definitely been there and they've been noticeable. They had one on the power play to open third period. Vasilevsky had that great save on Konechny.
Let's get into the power play, actually. I feel like this is a great transition into this because I've said this countless times, and I've said it prior to this season. I don't really care if our power play is predictable. Like, that is almost irrelevant to me. It needs to be
executed. The same power play for like 10 years.
Yeah, but it needs to be They had different code. Joey Mullen had a great power play. There's no system anymore. There's so many changes. There's no system. Nobody knows who to shoot. Nobody knows who the shooter is. Nobody is open. Nobody's moving up in the back door when it's open. Like, it's not happening. It's like they're almost confused. It is
pretty hard to have a successful power play when you're switching the units every game.
Right. Yeah. And again, I'm gonna rip it on Therrien here for sure.
And especially when you're changing them when they really weren't that bad.
I was thinking that
5 for 14, I think, in the opening homestand.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And you talked about this with Bill Meltzer.
Yeah.
He went 0 for 10 in Western Canada.
Yeah.
So I get it, but like, obviously you're not going to score every time. You have to at least make it a threat. Like, I feel like the Flyers spend too much time in their own zone changing and passing the puck backwards on the slingshot than they do getting set up in the zone.
To your point, they were more threatening in the beginning of the season. He made changes when the team was executing and not finishing. And I just feel like, again, I'm not a Michel Therrien fan. Anybody who's been listening to this podcast knows he was my least favorite coach in the National Hockey League. He's not a guy that I ever wanted to see coaching the Flyers. Never. I didn't like him when he was a head coach, and I'm not a fan of his now. I'm always willing to give him, to be wrong. I'm not saying that, they got to axe him and that, but at this point, my patience has kind of run away. And we've talked about this on this podcast. We talked about it together. It's like, since he has showed up here, the power play has been mediocre and has shown zero improvement. The penalty kill, you can give Mike Yeo some credit. He had one down year. First year he was here, he did great. And now the penalty kill is looking a lot better. It's been consistent.
It honestly looks just like it was in 1920.
Yeah, even if it's a halfway through the league, that's fine. That's good. We don't have
you can ask for.
Right.
Because if you're having a special teams that's middle of the pack, you're most likely going to make the playoffs.
Well, here's the reason too, is that the Flyers don't have like the best defenseman in the National Hockey League for penalty killing, right? But if you look at their offensive players and you look at the people available there, you're like, this power play should be close to top 10. And it's just never there. It's like it's never improving, and it never goes on a tear, and it always goes through these long droughts, and it always looks messy, and it always gives up offensive opportunities the other way.
Like I've been wondering for a couple weeks if the Oilers
It's not a skill problem.
Yeah, and I've been wondering for a couple weeks, like, does Edmonton have a power play coach? Because, like, do you really think the Oilers have to like draw up anything? It's like you have literally some of the best players in the world. And that's the other thing with the Flyers. It's like you have Claude Giroux, who is literally the number one player in power play points since 2011-12.
Yeah, but he doesn't run the power play anymore. He doesn't run when we had the top 5 power play units in the league, Claude Giroux was running the power play. We do not do that anymore. It was predictable, but irrelevant that it was predictable. Where's the shot in the slot? Where is the
They stopped doing it because apparently Konecny just shoots high and wide every time. I don't care if he's shooting high and wide. Keep giving him the puck. It's gonna hit the net at least sometime.
At least shoot. You know? And then, they take Coots off. Sorry, we're cutting each other off, but we're taking Coots off the top power play unit. How is that going to help him produce more? Like
first of all, and again, this is not a knock Provorov, but he should not be quarterbacking the first unit. I'm sorry.
I disagree, but that's okay. I'm seeming to be in the minority in that.
It's nothing to do with what he does or what he brings. But I just feel like he would be better if it was the 2 defenseman unit and it was him and Ellis, because he looked a hell of a lot better than when he had Ellis on that second unit in the first couple games. And I personally handle it. Just seems like Provorov doesn't have the sense of awareness at times on the power play.
Well, I think he's not. He's out there to keep it simple on the back end, where a guy like Yandel, right, and Ghost, like they're more creative with their passing, which I think is what you're referring to. But we only have one defenseman out there. I'm not necessarily opposed to. I don't think he's the problem on the power play. That's kind of what I'm getting to.
No, I'm not saying
you know what I'm saying.
I think the problem with the power play is the lack of urgency. They don't shoot the puck. You have a different setup with like every power play opportunity.
Yeah.
And you're putting guys on a first unit power play that, if I'm being honest with you, shouldn't be on a first unit power play.
We have 2 number 1 power plays now, which I don't understand why. We have plenty of talent to load up the top one, and the secondary unit was scoring in the beginning of the season, and the first unit was getting consistent opportunities. Why did you even mess with that?
There's no point.
I really...
If AV, I feel, again, it was more AV because he had said he wanted to give some guys who are playing well 5-on-5 power play time. That's fine. If you want to put Atkinson in the spot to shoot, like if you want him on the power play to shoot it, you got to put him in a spot to legitimately shoot the puck, or at least give it to him. He's put on the right side where he doesn't really have an opportunity.
Yeah, I don't get it at all.
He had one when he was on the second unit, when you had Farabee in front of the net. They would do the play where Farabee comes out from the side and hits Atkinson for a one-timer. Had at least, 4 or 5, maybe 6 chances to score on that.
Yeah.
All the times it got blocked, or it went wide. But regardless, you're not you're not going to score every time. And you can't keep playing on.
It's not about the goals, though. To your point, it's not about the goals.
It's about, it's just they don't even gain momentum.
Unit. Right. It looks like a dead unit. They give up as many opportunities the other way as they gain themselves.
Yeah.
And that is a clear sign that it's a systems issue. If they play better at 5-on-5 and worse at on the special teams on the power play with an extra man, that's a system problem. You didn't magically get less talented when you have a man advantage.
For years, they weren't the best 5-on-5 team, but their power play was like top 3 in the league.
Right. That was all. Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, that was, in my opinion,
seriously just made T-shirts. Bring back Joey Mullen.
I mean, that's the remnants of Joey Mullen. And that's what I'm saying. I was like, I don't think Michel Therrien is qualified to run the power play. I don't even know if he's that good of an offensive coach in general.
And go fire him?
No.
I don't either.
I would like them to. And I don't usually root for coaches to get fired. And I actually don't have a problem with him personally. I don't think he's been a bad guy. I thought he was actually a bigger douche than he actually is. So that is a good sign. And I don't have a problem with that. And that's where I'm not celebrating this, but I've seen zero progress with the power play in the time that he's been here. And he has plenty of tools to not be the best power play in the league, to put up just put up an effort where your team is actually on the man advantage.
Where it looks like they are.
Yeah. And it's been 3 years of this, and there's been no change. The only times I've ever seen a change is when Claude Giroux takes over the power play and runs it. And it happened last year, and I go, why isn't Giroux running the power play? They put him to run the power play. It started scoring, and then they changed it up again, and the scoring went away. We don't have a bunch of guys on this team that are elite playmakers. It's just a reality. Ryan Ellis is injured. You said Provorov is not that guy. Yandel's at the end of his career. Couturier is not a playmaker. We don't have those type of guys. So you have to make a very precise system. Sorry, go ahead. You want to say something?
Hey, look, I don't. It's not rocket science with this roster. It's not that hard. Just put the guys on the ice where they can see. Or shit.
Well, it is hard. Let's not. It is hard. Let's not take away. Let's not pretend like it's easy, right? But I do understand
with this roster. It's not that hard. With this roster, it's not that hard like they're making it.
Well, it's hard in the sense that you're competing against a smart person who's going to look for chinks in your power play.
I get that.
At this point, maybe they're just overthinking it. I get what you're saying. I'm not trying to call you out.
Washington has had the same setup. Since Ovechkin came.
Give it to Ovechkin. Let him one time it. It works.
Yeah, because what they do is everybody goes to Backstrom, then they forget Ovechkin's there. They have weapons in every corner.
So
that's what the Flyers used to have.
What do you think about Cam Atkinson being on the point on the left side for one-timers? And he's responsible defensively. He can skate. You put G on the left side. No, I think it would be the top unit. You put G on the left side. Put Coots back out there. What? I put Coots in the middle.
I put Farabee in the middle.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I was thinking somebody who can get that one-timer off. Wade Allison would be good at it, obviously. Coots is a bigger body and stronger than Farabee. I just think Farabee's a little scrawny to play the middle right now. But
if you let Giroux do that, Hartnell used to fall down and he'd still score.
Underrated player
there.
Hartnell's a strong dude though. He's physically
right, but Farabee, I think Farabee too. He can still shoot.
He will be. He's growing. He's not playing his best hockey right now. He started off playing great, but I don't disagree with you. I think Farabee should do it either top unit or second unit. I actually don't even have a problem with Brassard doing it, to be honest. But I don't really have a problem with the bodies. I don't love our lines. I want
to see JVR use more. He's one of the best net front guys in the league, and you haven't used them. You put him on the second unit. What are you doing?
Well, because he hasn't played poorly, but he hasn't played great.
So give him the power play chances to get him going.
Yeah,
if he gets a couple goals,
I feel like they have to
play better.
I'm arguing you because I feel like we're both just frustrated, but I feel like they just have to start over. Whatever you were doing, stop doing that.
Yeah, it's
your pieces.
You ever see the meme? I don't know what TV show it's from, but the guy's pointing to the board and it's got all the
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah, Charlie Day.
That's what
Pepe
it's
Sylvia.
Erase it.
Yeah,
erase it. Start it all over.
You're overthinking it.
Yeah, just do a.
I thought that immediately when I saw Coots wasn't on the top power play. I was like, now you're overthinking it. Yeah. I was like, you're overthinking.
Just do.
You've gone too far.
Do something where you have next game against Boston. Let the players run it. Let them do whatever they want to do. Just see how it goes. For an
maybe they are doing that though. Maybe that's
they should be.
Already what's happening.
Because honestly, we've seen it. I forget what game it was, but there was a time where Giroux was on the right side for the entirety of the power play. Yeah. I think they got him with 15, 20 seconds left. I've never seen him skate that damn hard over to the left, set up, went for a set play, almost scored from JVR at the side of the net. And I'm like, dude. A while ago, I went to practice. And they did the power play. And Giroux was on the right. And he looked as frustrated as, I don't think I've ever seen him.
Because he leads the league in power play points from the left side.
Right side.
Yeah, and it's you're taking away something that is a proven entity. It's a proven product. Like, it works. Keep him on the left side. Knock it off. Give him full vision. Let him quarterback and I'm sorry to cut you off, but like, where are the shots? And not shots from the perimeter. Like, I get it, trying to sneak through the blocks. A little bit of that. But where are the shots? Where are they taking shots from? It's like all they do is play the box on us.
The thing is with G is the fact that I like that he's there, but he hasn't shot enough as he should be. Like,
he stopped shooting.
He has a great shot.
He stopped shooting. He was doing great. He was shooting on having said that, he just scored 2 goals the other night. But he stopped shooting as much as he was. And it's like, no, dude, keep doing what you were doing. Stop it. Like, he gave up a shot the other, maybe it was last game or the game before, where it was like, what are you doing? I think there was like seconds left in the game.
Oh, it was against Calgary. Yeah, he tried to throw back his.
So
and AV mentioned it post game. He was like, he would have scored if he shot it. He would have scored. Like, Markstrom was way out of position. Like,
yeah.
Was, like, down for the count, like on his stomach kind of thing. And I was like, oh my God, Drew. And then I was just like, oh my God. Like, he's got to shoot that. Like, I don't know, dude. Look, if there's anything that aggravates me the most with it, I think it's reminding me of when the playoffs had started and they just could not get a single thing going. And I feel like since the playoffs, that's how bad it's been. It's just been downhill since the playoffs. Well, because I feel like they had the 9-game winning streak.
Yeah.
In the 1920 season, the power play was starting to heat up. Not as much, but they were starting to get goals from the second unit. First unit was getting a lot of. It was kind of what you had said earlier. The first unit was getting a lot of chances, and the second unit was getting the goals, and that's what they were doing with it. And then COVID hit, and then the playoffs was kind of down, and then last year wasn't great, and obviously this year they've had struggles already.
But we have to. And this is not you. I'm not commenting on you. I'm commenting because I've been listening to like Flyers podcast and people calling it like Bill Matt. Shout out to Bill Matz and his call-in show. It's pretty entertaining for the post. Like, people call in and give their opinions. And, like, everybody repeats each other, like, which you guys should reevaluate that. If you're all saying the same thing, you're probably not accurate. I know that that's different from what everybody's telling you, but that's groupthink. That means you guys literally are just repeating the same thing to one another. You can deny that, but I'm hearing stuff that's not true that people are repeating over and over again. We just talked about it ourselves. And again, I'm not calling you out here specifically. I'm talking about that show. We have to look at the whole season at its entirety. The reality is that the power play was doing well in the beginning of the season. It's doing, and so was the offense. It was killing it. Now it's slowed down. There's still an 82-game season. So it's easy for us to say it hasn't been good, but it was good, right? It's kind of like, well, what were we doing well that made it good? And what are we doing now that ruined that momentum, right?
They finished on their opportunities.
That was definitely a big part of it. But they were more consistently in the zone. Like the puck movement.
Well, they won the faceoff too.
Yeah.
They've, for a handful of games their faceoffs were atrocious. They lost it
was Carolina, I think, was the only game.
Carolina and Dallas, they were bad.
Okay, I was on a date on the Dallas one, so I only saw parts
Carolina
of that game on the
Dallas
TV, but behind her. What?
Some of Calgary, they didn't win as many, but as the game went on, they started to win more.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. But no, I think it's just been like you see the way a lot of the knock on the Flyers, which I do agree with, when people are calling and saying this, is just the possession game is just not there. Like, it's just sloppy possession. It's a lot of like throw the puck around the boards, and then there's one guy there.
A lot of their offensive zone time is the majority of it. How do I word this? The way that they're keeping the offensive zone time alive is because they're getting good pinches from their defense. Like Sanheim, Ristolainen, Provorov, like they've all pinched into the zone.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your statement.
A lot of good plays to just keep the puck alive. But it feels like it gets to that point though where like they do it too much and then they can't get a shot through. Like a lot of it's just perimeter.
Yeah.
And then they can't get much going.
Totally agree. And shout out to Sanheim because you just referenced him. He had 26 minutes of ice time, just under Provorov's 26:40 minutes of ice time, and he only had shorthand opportunities, no power play, which is also a question why I'm like, why is he not getting any power play time? Because he's got offensive abilities. I would say he's a better puck handler than Risto. Risto's just got a bigger shot, but at the same time,
used it though. That's the problem.
That's kind of what I'm. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So let's. I had them a little bit later, but let's just get right into them now, and then we'll go in. We'll talk about G and Coots after that. But Ristolainen and Sanheim. One again. I'm going to rip on analytics again because I tend to do it a lot, and not analytics on how people use analytics. And that one Twitter thing that you sent me, that group, man, do they not understand analytics for an analytics Twitter? We don't need to name them, but boy, yeah, a lot of cockiness for not even understanding your own freaking argument. It's baffling to me. But yeah, Ristolainen proving everybody wrong. And I don't know why people are even talking about the beginning. He's coming back from an injury with almost zero practice time, not really knowing the team or his partner, and had some turnovers. Outside of that, he's been absolutely fantastic, proving once again that analytics need to be contextual, and they do not transfer from team to team the way people think that they do, because I brought this up to Settlemeyer the other day. If I can name 6 factors that change, I can probably name more than that change the situation. There's no way that your mathematical equation is accurate. Just saying that's math. I was better at math than anything else in school. I promise you, if you have X factors within your argument that are defined and changed based on context, your numbers are wrong. Let's just get that one out of the way. But Ristolainen looks awesome. Looks like he's worth the value. Looks like if he continues this, I think he's here to stay. And then him and Sanheim have been great together. I mean, for a second pairing, haven't been perfect, but they look really strong, especially since we don't have Ellis. Their resurgence has been awesome, because I think Provorov looks fantastic. Offensively, he could be a little bit better, but just overall, he's been super steady. Braun, obviously, didn't have his best game last game, but it's still playing strong. But what do you think about Risto? What do you think about Sanheim?
The last handful of games that pairings kind of remind me of Provorov Niskanen in the early parts of the season.
Okay.
They were where it was like Provorov would jump into the offense a lot, and you would see more chances from him. Niskanen would be like steady defensively. They've both done that. Ristolainen has been so physical, hasn't taken many penalties. He had one on him last game, which I kind of thought was a tough call.
I didn't like that call.
There. I understand why it was called, but I didn't like it either.
Yeah.
Look, I feel like the problem with Ristolainen is nobody gave the guy a chance to settle in. They were all like, "Oh my God, he made a bad play," and then they would just attack him. Then we made a good play. I was like, "Oh my God, Ristolainen
did it with Jones in the preseason game where he gave up one bad goal."
Yeah. Just settle down. It's going to take some time, and that's what I think Ristolainen has done. He's settled down. I feel like ever since the Capitals game. Actually, no, I shouldn't even say that. I feel like the Vancouver game on the 28th of October. Since then, his game has settled down. He's gotten a lot better game by game. I feel like he's more comfortable with Sanheim. Sanheim's more comfortable with him. And one thing I've noticed from Sanheim, and actually I'm going to go back and do this. I have I haven't told anybody about this, but I have every game so far downloaded. I'm going to go back and watch every single one and find the plays where Sanheim, which I have noticed a lot, and it hasn't related into many goals, but he's pinched to where it's created an offensive chance, like a really good scoring chance, or they've scored on it. It hasn't been many goals, but it's been happening. I feel like over the course of the season, you're going to see more. I feel like he's due for a goal too.
Yeah,
because he's been playing, and
several guys are due for a goal.
Yeah, for sure. So honestly, especially Lindblom too. I know that's off topic, but he's definitely due for a goal.
Well, we can talk about him too.
But again, I've really liked Sanheim's game over the last handful of games, and I feel like he's getting better. They're more comfortable together, and it's been good to see, because they've been that kind of that mold for the defense with Ellis not being there, and Braun's been playing well. So I feel like all of it's kind of every pairing's kind of helped each other.
Yeah. I think well said. Definitely a good point on Sanheim too. His pinches have been really strong, and I think because of Risto, he's been and Risto's pinches have been good too. I think the two of them. I think it's just working. It's working. And it's interesting because I was kind of like, if Ellis is out long term, you're almost like, well, why isn't Risto playing top pairing? He's out playing Braun, in my opinion. He has more talent than Braun. But again, you don't want to break up that pairing because they're doing so well. It's like you can't afford to do that to Sanheim because then you could hurt Sanheim's game, who's also, playing really well defensively. The team is playing well defensively. For all the offensive crap we give them, they're playing well around Hart. Yes, Hart is playing fantastic, but they're playing well around him. Go ahead. Sorry.
The biggest issue last year was defending them with the slot in the middle of the ice.
And there's a lot less of that. Yep. Agreed.
It's been
great. A lot of one and done opportunities too, which is good. Like they have possession. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
Offensively one and done chances, but they've also given up. I felt like that Calgary game, Jim Jackson and Jonesy kept talking about Gaudreau and Lindholm. And again, it's nothing against the way they call the game or anything. I love them. They're great. But, when the Flames, I think their entire team had the rest of the team at one point in the second, had, I think, 17 shots. And Gaudreau and Lindholm combined had 16.
Yeah. And
a lot of them were one-and-done chances. And Hart was just kind of, his rebound control has been good. He's kind of just made the save and swallowed it up. I wasn't too concerned because the Flyers were really kind of taking it to them. And then you saw it in the third where they didn't really do much, Calgary.
Yeah. Flyers played well.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to see last night was the fact that you only had 5 shots in the first period and you were up to nothing. It wasn't that it was a gift. It was very honestly, the firsthand, that first period reminded me of the Boston game where the Flyers were up, I think it was 2-1 at the end of the first, and they didn't have many shots, but they scored on their chances. They ended up winning the game because they scored on a lot of their high danger chances, and Martin Jones was very good as well. And that's kind of what it felt like last night. But Tampa's a team that's going to come back at you, and you can't play on your heels. So that's what happened.
They did it for too long.
Yeah.
They did it for the entire second period. It wasn't like partial. It was the entire second period they were getting their butts kicked.
And that's where it got concerning. It's like you knew they were going to – I don't think there was anyone in that building or anyone watching on TV that kind of had that feeling that Tampa was not going to score to tie that game in the second. You saw it coming.
Yeah, because they just kept coming. Braden Point looks incredible on every shift, and it's like,
dude, I thought he played the entire period.
Yeah,
it felt like he didn't. It felt like he didn't go to the bench once.
He's so good, dude.
Cohen had tweeted it. He was like, as Point
they're cloning him.
I'm like,
yeah, they're cloning him.
Like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I feel like he's been out there the entire time.
Why stop him if he's playing that way? So let's talk about G and Coots real quick. I feel like a tale of two different stories right now in the recent sprint. Giroux went through some struggles, but I mean, he leads the team in points, got 7 goals, 7 assists. He's the best player on the team right now. It's noticeable, and please get him signed. I've heard some people say, "Oh, what about letting Giroux walk and signing something else?"
He's going to go to Ottawa.
That's insane to me. You sign him. If you want to bring in another good player, trade somebody, but you sign your franchise caliber player. So please get him signed. But he looks great. It hasn't been perfect, but he's had his moments of heroism. Sean Couturier, on the other hand, for a few games so far, not bad, right? But doesn't look like himself.
He doesn't look like the normal number 1 center.
Yeah, but offensively, he's not the passing hasn't been as good.
Yeah,
but he's also his passing and shooting has looked pretty tough.
We noticed this when we watched the Penguins game,
right?
And we had said it and even my dad said it too.
Everybody said it.
Yeah, and it wasn't one of them things where only a couple people noticed it. A lot of people said it, and it kind of continued. And look, there's been moments where he's had those kind of plays where he's made the right pass, like the shot pass on the Atkinson goal. That was a great play.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if it's maybe I hope there isn't an injury or anything where maybe there's some, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of an injury he's battling that they haven't
Yeah,
mentioned.
could be.
I don't know. Or if it's the fact that there's been different lines for him just about every time, but that shouldn't really matter. He's showing Courier.
I do not like the combination on the top unit. Why? Like, I'm starting to think, like, if you're gonna move G off that line, okay, well, why don't you put Konechny on the top line? And
I would have kept Konechny
and
moved around.
What about Konechny and Lindblom with Couturier? Why has that not been tried?
I said that. I said put when they were talking about, are they going to make new lines after what game was it? The Toronto game? Yeah. I said I would like to see Lindblom with Couturier and Konechny.
And we know
one of the lines that had majority of their offense in the 2019-20 season, in the very early stages of it.
Prior to the cancer treatment. And ironically, it was cancer night. Would have been a good time.
Right. Think about it. Couturier in the last 2 seasons has had pretty much one solid line that has been really good when he's been on it as the number one center. It was the first year, as we just mentioned, Lindblom, Couturier, Konechny, and then sadly Lindblom was diagnosed with cancer, so there was a bunch of different switchings and all that stuff. Last year, it was Farabee, Couturier, JVR. That was one of the very few bright spots of last season, and now it seems like he's had a different line, or different line every night.
Him and Giroux have always been good together. That's the one thing. Maybe not as a full line.
But why would you break it up?
Because the rest of the guys weren't scoring. That's why.
Right, but I get it, but it's like you could have done. But then again, it's like they didn't even switch up the first line. They just switched Lindblom.
I would have moved up.
Farabee.
I've talked about I would have just moved up Atkinson at the top line.
You could have that too.
Yeah, and put Konechny with what's his name? With Brassard and Farabee. Why not try that? Yeah. I actually don't hate. I actually think Konechny and Lawton actually look pretty good together. Lawton's having a great year, offensively, but just all around. I mean, the guy is just such a solid player.
Lawton and Lindblom haven't necessarily gotten the best bounces.
Yeah, Lindblom. I think it's he's just getting unlucky at this point. Like, put him with Couturier, put him with Konechny, put the line back together. They showed gold a couple years ago. Let's try it again. Why not? What do you got to lose? It's not like Couturier's on fire. It's not like Konechny's on fire. It's not like Lindblom's on fire. If anything, this is a little bit prior to your time. This is when the Flyers went to the Stanley Cup. That year, they had 3 struggling players: Danny Briere, Scott Hartnell, and oh my God, why is his name escaping me right now?
No.
What? Sorry?
Ville Leino,
thank you. I don't know why his name just disappeared from my head. And Ville Leino, and they threw the 3 of them together, and they were all struggling. And then that line became just completely on fire for the rest of the year. So maybe there's an opportunity to do that as well.
No, I agree. I mean, I remember you saying that to me before. I don't remember if it was over the phone or what, but I do remember you mentioning that to me, and it doesn't surprise me that they kind of just threw everybody together and they started the work. Like, I think the Flyers could do that I really think they do that with every line. You could try to find a mix of guys, because some guys haven't necessarily scored as much recently, and obviously the team they scored 3 goals last night for the first time since the Arizona game on November 2nd. You know what I mean? So if you could try to find a mix of trying to get everybody kind of going again, and everybody had to know that the offensive surge they had to start the year wasn't going to keep up, because it's just not hockey. It's
not unsustainable. Not at that pace. I don't think anybody expected a 2-goal pace.
Right. Exactly. I was just going to say it's not going to. You didn't expect it to dip from 4 a game to 2.
Yeah. You thought maybe 2 to 3 every night rather than just 2.
Some nights you get 5 with an empty netter or something like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next topic. Let's talk about the injuries. So Kevin Hayes has a scare in the game against Calgary. Had a big night. He's got 2 points in 2 games so far. But then doesn't, finishes the game, comes back, doesn't play a lot in the third. And then the following game he gets benched again. And then we have Ryan Ellis is now out 4 to 6 weeks. Most likely it'll probably be 5 weeks is my guess. Hopefully not 6. But we'll see. No surgery required.
This is for when he's able to come back.
Yeah. What'd you say? Sorry.
December 8th is what I saw for him to come back. Off LTIR. Don't know if he'll play, but December 8th is when he should come off.
So Merry Christmas, everybody. Hopefully he makes it for that. And then Brown also out. Do we have a timetable on him? I forgot.
He's week to week.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So week to week on Brown, which is unfortunate. I was kind of talking shit a little bit in the beginning, but again, I think it
just sucks because they lost Albie Kubel and then Braun.
Yeah, it does. It does suck, and we don't have an abundance of fourth line depth with all the injuries that we're dealing with right now.
You have Willman. You're not going to call up anybody else to play the fourth line. You're not calling up Frost to play the fourth line.
Right. It's like of the Phantoms, like you already don't have Allison. You don't have Lazinski. You could call up Rubtsov, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be better than Willman. Like Willman's playing better than Rubtsov in the minors. So it's like, I don't really know what they do. You just don't have a lot of bodies with the guys injured already. And now that you lost NAK. So it's like.
It's funny because he played third line for Colorado.
Yeah.
And so we're like, he'll never be anything more than a four-time player. Like that's not true.
You already know I don't have any agreements with that. I think his problems have always been discipline, not skill set.
So
yeah, I expect him to continue doing that for a while. So those 3 injuries. Hayes, I think we still don't know. I think they're saying that we might hear something within the next 24 hours. I think, at least from what I saw,
I thought AD said 48 to 72.
Yeah. Well, it's already been a day.
True. Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking. Whatever. But yeah, you're probably right. But at this point, with Kevin Hayes, it's like, hopefully it's not a re-injury. My thought initially, the fact that
he get an MRI.
I think there's a good chance of that to make sure there's no additional damage. But realistically, like it's probably soreness, and it's probably precautionary too. If he played the rest of that game, it's probably not terrible. But let's hope, because if we lose him again,
if you were so worried, like he looked like he was kind of.
Again, you can only diagnose a player by what he's telling you in those type of moments. So if he's going, I'm fine. What is the doctor going to say? No, you're not. Yeah, they can't. But
then again, it's like, why would you risk it?
Because he wants to play, and he's a hockey player.
Yeah, I get it. But
that's just the culture. It's just what they do. I'm not saying it's smart. I'm not saying it's smart. I'm not validating it. Jamie's opinion. He was saying that it was even too early to play him. So props to Jamie on that one.
I don't think they should. I don't necessarily thought. I didn't think he should have got second line minutes. I feel like he got him third line.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but the problem is it's like you're still in the top 9. You're still gonna be rolling out there. I think Jamie actually recommended fourth line. What?
In the third of that game against Calgary, he looked so slow.
Yeah.
He looked even slower than he did before. It looked like he might have re-aggravated something.
I think that's the worry, is that that there's another tear. But odds are there's a lot of soreness there. Like realistically, what I think they're thinking is like he probably woke up sore and they're probably like, all right, well, let's not risk it. Just sit out. Let's do another evaluation. Let's make sure nothing tore inside and you don't need another surgery or something.
Do you think they can go for somebody?
I think they have to if he's out long term.
Like if you say like he's out for the rest of the season, and I hope that's not the case.
Right.
Let's just say it is. Either they go out for another center or they try to get a goal scorer.
I think they'll
like say they try to get like
no. I think they'll go for a play. I think they'll go for a playmaker, not a goal scorer. I think they'll go for a guy who can drive play. You can hope that Frost is ready this year. But again, he missed an entire season last year. The Phantoms aren't doing very well, even though he leads the team in points. But again, I could see them trying Frost before they trade for somebody. But if it comes around playoff time and this team is still dealing without Kevin Hayes, and they, unless they're dominating, I would see a trade coming, even for a rental for the year. Like a guy like I'm just throwing out a name caliber, like Eric Halla, right? Like a guy who's probably a third line player, but can probably play make, probably, set up some plays. Like, I mean, we have Brassard, which is nice. I think people are a little too harsh on him. He's got 9 points in 15 games, but realistically, I just think we need another center if Hayes is not going to be around. But I think it's too
Yeah,
early.
dude, I do. And that's the thing. It was just exactly. And it was just in the sense of if he's out long term. That's the only reason I said it. I did see something the other day, and I've been curious to ask you this, and I might as well now since we're talking. Do you think they could get Tarasenko?
I saw that coming up. I mean, like, I think, look, it's always possible, but if I
think about it, like that really can help a lot of things. It helps a lot of things. It adds another veteran into the room.
So you have to move JVR for it, right? Because you have to move a lot of salary. And you're taking on salary. What?
You might have to move another guy with him.
If that's what I'm saying. You have to move a couple. I mean, you might have to include Lindblom in that, right? And it's like I don't know. What?
Is it worth it if you move Konechny or no?
I would not move Konechny.
I wouldn't either. That's why I asked.
Just because of the long-term implications and the role that TK plays. But I think Tarasenko is fantastic. I'm a big fan. But
I think it would help the power play immensely too.
Yeah.
No question.
I just think down the road it hurts us. That's why I hesitate with that one. If I'm moving Konechny, it's for a guy of a similar age. Like
could you imagine if they ran a power play with Ellis, Giroux, Tarasenko?
I think they already. That's cool. That's very cool. But why did we go out and get Atkinson then? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
why are we chasing?
I'm just asking.
No. Yeah, I'm not jumping on you at all. I've heard other people say this, so it's not. You're not.
I saw it as a rumor the other day that the Flyers were still in on him.
Well, I don't think it's a terrible idea. Like I said, it just depends on what you're moving the other way, right? You have to shed salary to do it, a good amount of it, and there's cap implications because I think he has
Frost.
That he would probably be included in the deal. I would assume it could be like Frost and JVR, and that's an interesting trade. Like Tarasenko used to be an elite goal scorer. So like, I'm not like, oh, why would we go out and trade for him? Let me look at his, I want to see his cap because I think that's the thing that I think makes it difficult. If he had a short cap, I would see it definitely be plausible. But the Flyers still are going to have other players to re-sign. They still have to, sign Rasmus Ristolainen. Let's take a look. So Tarasenko's got 2 years at 7.5. It's not terrible. And considering that you have JVR for 2 years, maybe, again, the value of JVR and Tarasenko is not the same there, right? It's just not. But if you can fill it, if it's Frost that fills in that in between, they get Morgan Frost, which could end up hurting us down the line. But we get Vladimir Tarasenko, who's 29. He's not an old man, right? And I think he's puts him a little bit younger than JVR. What?
The only thing is the injury.
Yeah, which is to his shoulder, and he's a shooter.
You have a really good player, but has battled some injury, and Ellis has only played 5 games this year.
Yeah.
Out of the 15, he's missed 10.
Yeah, but Tarasenko also has 7 goals, 7 assists in 16 games.
It's nothing like level. The entire injury thing. Like, I'm not going to be all worried about it. Like, I'm not worried about it regardless of Ellis's injury past. I'm still making that trade for him. Regardless, like we knew this was going to.
Well, I mean,
come
you also
traded at some point.
You also traded a couple guys with injury history the other way, right?
Right.
Myers has been getting injuries.
Guys have already been injured this year or benched.
Yeah, and Patrick hasn't even been able to play more than 4 games. So, I know people like shit on
was
Patrick.
A healthy scratch for I think 4.
Yeah. Well, I think Myers will work his way back, but it's a shame what's happening to Patrick, man, because it's not a talent issue with him. It's obviously he's got serious medical problems, and that really sucks, dude. And it's not the first time a really good player has like lost his career due to that, or a talented young player. It happens more often than people really want to admit, and it's just unfortunate. And I know people could be bitter about the draft and all that. That's fine. I think that's well justified, but it's like, I don't know. I don't want to see that happen to him. Like, I think that just really sucks.
We've probably talked about this before, and I've always wanted to get your thoughts because people still, for some odd reason, like to talk about Hextall and the way he drafted here. Even though he hasn't been the general manager since the 2017-18 season, but Um, you know, do you think that Hextall was bad at drafting? Because
No.
I've seen it a lot, like, and someone had put out a list of like centers he's drafted in recent years, and um, or not recent years, but centers that he's drafted in his tenure here, and not necessarily a lot of them worked out. And I'm not going to sit here and say that like I personally thought Hextall was good at drafting, regardless of if the pick was right in front of his face. It doesn't matter. The draft goes any way you like. If you take you pick the best player available for your team, not the best player available on the board. That's how it goes. So I'm not like I don't want to necessarily make it like that. I think Hextall is bad at drafting. There were some misses, and we talked about this a couple times. Who did we mention? Goldborn. Like that wasn't the best.
That was Holmgren.
That was Holmgren.
Yeah, that was Paul Holmgren.
Was it Holmgren?
Yeah. I will say this, and I don't mean to cut you off, but for those people who think Ron Hextall is bad at drafting, go to HockeyDB, go to the Flyers draft history, and look at the production of players in Hextall's era versus prior to that, and you will see a dramatic difference in production. And you will see that Hextall was more successful than the previous administration, who, yes, hit on some centers, absolutely, but they had way more misses. The reality is that Ron Hextall solved your goaltending problem. First and foremost, he brought you Konechny. He brought you Provorov. He brought you Sanheim. He didn't just flub it. Do I think he was as good as we all thought in the end? No, I think he had bigger misses than we thought. Like, I think we thought that Frost would be ready at this point, even though he's really young and he lost a year to injury. Patrick, I think with the number 2 overall pick, we thought at least he's got to be one of the top 5 best players in this draft. And right now there's a big gap between him and the other guys. And a lot of it is probably attributed to injury. But again, it's a reality. Ratcliffe has not turned out, right? That was also a big pickup. But he traded up to get Konechny. He got Wade Allison, who's a great player. Again, injuries. He got Lazinski. Great pickup, injuries. We have how many good young goaltenders in this pool? Which, again, Sandstrom, Hart, Erson, Fedotov. And again, I don't want to take away from the stuff that, the reality is if you expect the draft to turn out more than like 25% good, you have no idea what you're doing. Like, you're going to miss on pretty much everything. And even like drafting a guy like Rubtsov, right? Well, I have a soft spot for him. I remember everybody really wanted Bellows, right? Instead of Rubtsov. There's really not a big difference between the two players. So, like, you also have to look at what was really available. The one where I can, like, maybe look at is, like, they went for Jay O'Brien, injury problems as well, and he still is young, so we don't know how that'll turn out. We still, we have other guys, too, but Keandre Miller was available, a defenseman. Maybe that was the move. But then what are you going to say to Chuck Fletcher, who passed up on Cole Caulfield to go for Cam York? It's like, this is just the reality of being a GM. I think to be honest with you, I think he's slightly above average. But I think he's not as great as I thought because he missed. And injuries are what they are, but he missed. And I do agree with the knock at center because at the end of the day, he didn't produce centerman. He produced everything but. And the Flyers used to be very good at drafting centermen. They even converted Giroux, which is why I brought up Farabee. Converted Giroux to be center. All right, I'll let you talk now.
That's the thing. Like, I understand what you're saying, but he got his Carter Hart. You know what I mean? It's like
that's what I was saying. Like, I was like, you got a franchise caliber goaltender.
Yeah, and you said my initial thought of he solved the goaltending problem. That was exactly what I was going to say.
At depth.
Yeah,
for the next 10 years.
He got his Carter Hart in the same round where they missed on DeBrincat, and everybody likes to.
But they got Wade Allison, who's great.
Honestly, who gives a shit? He got you a franchise goaltender.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying. If you go look at the draft history, if you walk away from a draft and you have one guy from that draft who's an impact player, the way that Carter Hart is, that's a success. Majority of the players you draft will not make an impact in the NHL.
Lindblom in the 5th round, dude.
That's what I'm saying. And people are being harsh on it now because Lindblom is struggling, right? But the reality is Lindblom, well, offensively, he's not producing. The reality is that he had a breakthrough year a couple years ago. It's the reason he has his contract. Travis Konechny was an all-star. Like, he did good things. Is he the best drafting guy in the league? No, I think the Flyers can be better. But we also have to remember this. It is a scouting team, and that was also Chris Pryor, who led the scouting team, who's no longer here either. Okay, so it is what it is. These people aren't idiots. They're not. I feel like everything in retrospect is, oh, they suck. It's like people were. Everybody thought Paul Holmgren. I remember I was talking to Steve Kornianos about this. People talk about Paul Holmgren, maybe not now because he's being celebrated, but people were talking about him. Like
I saw it on Facebook a couple nights ago.
People like talk like he was a cancer to the team. He took us to the Stanley Cup Finals. He put freaking Chris Pronger on this team, and he traded Spiza, Lupul, and 2 firsts to get one of the best defensemen of all time. And he took us to the finals. It's like, be at least a little bit happy with the fact he put together a team that honestly...
And he tried to continue that years later. It just didn't work.
He made some mistakes, but he also brought Yager in at one point, right? He let Yager go, which was a mistake, right? But he made good stuff in between. The reality is... What? Sorry?
Britt is that huge deal. That wasn't the greatest move.
Yeah, but also the trade that he made to trade Richards and Carter, the return he got was fantastic. You always lose when you trade great players because it took us time to rebound. But you got Couturier, you got Voracek, you got Simmons, you got Braden Shen, you got Nick Cousins, and you got Anthony Stolarz. Cousins is still in the NHL. Like, look at that. Cousins is a really good bottom 6 player in the NHL. Anthony Stolarz is a backup goaltender for one of the best teams, or at least they're playing like one of the best teams in the league. Sean Couturier is a Selke winner. Voracek was a Hart Trophy nominee. Wayne Simmons is one of the best power forwards in the NHL when he was playing. And Braden Shen is fantastic, who got us both Frost and Farabee. Like, it's, like at the end of the day, it just is what it is. Like, I feel like, it's almost like, I like what you brought up here, but it's almost like the way the Flyers are winning. Like, you would think that because the Flyers aren't scoring, that they're having this terrible season. They're 8-4-3.
They're having a solid start. There's no getting around it. There's been negative, there's been positive, there's been in between.
That's exactly what I want to say. That's exactly what I want to say. You can say the same thing about Hextall, and you can say the same thing about Holmgren. Neither one of them were a disaster.
Did anyone expect the Flyers to come out of the gate and be like this fantastic team, scoring 5 goals a night? Like,
I think if they were fully healthy, I think they would be producing more. Yeah, like Ryan Ellis has 5 points in 4 games.
For sure, they would be producing more.
Yes.
You don't have enough.
If we had Wade Allison
center for 2 games and he had points in both games,
God, it'd be awesome to get Wade Allison back.
Fingers crossed. I wonder if they could convert him to a center.
I don't think his game is that of a center, but I understand why you're saying, because he got the physicality and the size. But really, I don't know if he's got the puck.
They turned Raffle into a center. Versatile, can take face-offs.
Yeah, but only the 4th line. Like, it's not you never really put him as like a 3rd line center. Like Allison's, it's kind of like Lawton.
Play a 3rd line center though.
What?
I feel like Raffle could play a 3rd line center. On a bad team.
Yeah, but that's like you have Wade Allison, potential top 6 forward. Like, why would you limit his? Like, I think he's optimal.
No, I'm not saying limit him and put him into a lower role. I'm just saying convert him to center.
That's what I'm saying. Is I don't think his game translates. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not saying you're 100% wrong here, because I've mentioned this about Farabee. I think he converts to center in the long term, but with Allison's game, I just see him as a prototypical right wing power forward, big shot, big body. Put him in front of the net on power play. Like, he's not so much like a guy who can, I don't know if he's like a creator, like, I don't know if he's a guy who's like Lawton has actually been really interesting, because I feel like his playmaking abilities are actually getting better, which I'm not sure.
But has Allison, he hasn't really been given a chance though.
He's never played center ever. He's never played center.
This is the thing. Maybe try it out, see how it goes. I don't know.
Look, I'm open to experimentation. I'm not going to say, I just realized
that's what I want with these lines. Like, I want them to do something and Be creative with it. But if you're winning, don't just change
everyone.
it for.
There you go. My light wasn't on this whole time. I just realized. As we're at the end of the show. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. All right. But no, like I mean, I feel like for the most part, if they're gonna experiment, which they can still do, that's fine. I feel like is there many changes you think they'll do for Saturday? Because they've played Boston before they beat them.
I expect that top line to change, yeah. I think Farabee will drop down. I don't think Farabee has played well enough to play top line.
I think you keep the Brassard, Atkinson, Drew line together.
Yeah, because they produced.
You keep that together. But I think you move Konechny up and you move JVR down. Farabee, Couturier, Konechny. That's what I would do. Lindblom,
I don't hate
JVR again.
I don't hate it. I like, dude, my attitude right now is like, I just need to like pop open NHL 22 and just play with the lines and figure out what I want to do. Because I just feel like honestly, like I still want to see Giroux, Couturier, and Atkinson. Like I really.
The problem with 22 though is when you go in, it doesn't add the injuries in. So like Brassard's a healthy scratch, Hayes is in the line. Like Frost is on the team at fourth line wing. It's like that's not happening. It's very weird.
I wonder if there's different roster updates for the versions because I don't have that experience.
Has there been a roster update?
What?
Has there been a roster update recently?
The last one was on the 4th. It's pretty much the only reason I turned the game on at this point is just to play with the rosters. Pay $60 or no, it was $70. Pay $70 to play with rosters on a UI, which I can do on Cap Friendly for free. Thank you very much, EA.
See, the thing that's different is that version's handheld.
Yeah, right. So last topic, talk a little bit about Frost, talk a little bit about Phantoms. I don't have too much to say about the Phantoms. I haven't really got to watch them. I was listening to the other game. I've been listening to them mostly. And Bob Roach.
I've been seeing other people tweet about them, but I haven't watched.
Well, they had a great comeback the other day, and then Cal O'Reilly took a penalty with like 2 minutes left in the game, and then they blew their comeback. They were down 3-0. They tied it. Rubtsov tied it at 3-3, and then they lost the game in regulation 4-3. What a freaking bummer! I feel like that's been their whole start of their season. But Morgan Frost does lead the team in points. From what I've heard, he's had an up and down experience, but he's still producing every night. It is important to remember that he still missed an entire season of hockey last year. And I don't think that calling up Frost is going to fix the power play. And I don't think just throwing him, again, everything we were talking about in the beginning, it's
Frost
a system.
This is not going to solve this offense.
Because it's a systems issue. You're not lacking talent on the power play. That's not your issue. Your issue is right now is like
the only thing that would change the offense is maybe you see a little bit more scoring if he plays the first line.
Maybe,
but
it's debatable. He is a good. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think
I can't see him getting called up to play the first line and then have other guys get.
If Hayes is out, if they get news that Hayes is out for a while, I could see them trying it. Considering Brown's out, also Willman's not that effective offensively.
Yeah, but I also
could
feel
see
like they've been making
tried.
phone calls at the same time.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. If Hayes is out long term, they're gonna have to figure something out, and maybe Frost is the piece you have to move to get it. Should be unfortunate to do it that way, but again, if Hayes is gonna be out the whole season, this team's too good to just give up on the season and be like, oh, I guess we don't have a second line center now. You know, it's like this team is pretty strong with a second line center, and like we don't even have Ryan Ellis. Like that's crazy. We don't have our second best defenseman. And people could say he's our best, but I don't agree with that. I think Provorov is. But still, Provorov is better with Ellis, without a doubt. Without a doubt. There's zero doubt. We saw it when they were playing together. Like, Provorov hit another level, and Ellis was playing
fantastic in his absence.
Yeah, he's been, but he's still limited. He is a very competent defensive defenseman. Like there's just no way around it. He's physical. He skates well. He's got a great stick. He blocks shots. He plays every shift. He doesn't make mistakes. Like
also,
yeah,
he gets back on a lot of pucks.
I'll be honest with you. Even Nick Seeler, like, yes, he's a limited. Like it's almost like Nick Seeler is Braun light. Like he has good.
He's even more limited than Braun.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Seeler looks.
He's worse at everything.
Yeah, like when he plays, it looks like
But he
he
doesn't
can
make
barely hold a stick
mistakes.
sometimes.
Yeah, but he doesn't make
Yeah.
mistakes.
No,
And
he
that's
doesn't.
why he's in
and
the
that's
lineup.
The thing. Right.
That's
and
why
that's
Cam
the thing.
York's not up.
He keeps it simple.
That's what they need, though. A lot of times that's what you need.
Especially
if you're
when you
playing a
have
guy like
Handle,
who's the
not a great
playmaker.
defender.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Damn, dude, healthy this lineup is. That's what we're talking Settlemyer the last episode. It's like healthy, the lineup is just so much more intimidating than when you're kind of plugging in pieces. You know, when you have Ellis and Provorov as a top pairing, and then you have Risto and Sanheim, and then you have Yandel and Braun, that is an awesome D. You know,
Yeah.
I love that. On paper, it's great. It's a shame, but it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And if there's anything that is a little concerning, it's the fact that it's not even really. It's just more of like a bummer kind of thing because I would rather them be winning games like a couple in a row. But like, because if you're looking at it, it's like the devil's advocate.
Well, they also
thing,
have
like,
a really tough schedule right now, too.
They have a tough month,
They're
but it's
playing
also
all
the
good
fact
teams.
of like they win a game and then they lose. But then again, when they lose that game, they're not
blown out,
making it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're also not making it 2 in a row. They're able to bounce back from losses. They're the best team in the league bouncing back from a loss. They're 6-0.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that you're absolutely right. Right? They like go in, they beat Carolina, they beat Calgary. Like they're beating.
The only issue that I keep seeing that's like repetitive, and it's not even really an issue because good teams are able to do it. Not star play.
Yeah.
It's. I feel like I keep saying win the period, win the game a good amount.
Yeah,
like I keep saying it a lot, and it's because of that second period.
But we have to remember we are playing like the best teams in the league. The Flyers have a really tough schedule right now. We're not out there playing like Vegas, and we're not playing like any average team. We're not playing Chicago.
Average team they played was Dallas.
Exactly.
And that was coming off of a closed
they had 20 shots in the first period.
Yeah. That was coming off of a closed players only meeting.
And their team because they were
struggling. Full week at home where they only played one game in the prior 6 days.
Yeah.
That didn't have Dallas winning all over it. I don't know what does.
Yeah. All right, let's end on that. We're over an hour. Chris, tell people where to follow you. Tell people what you're up to. Tell people more stuff about you.
Yeah, so I actually tonight I have a interview with skills coach Angela Ricci that's premiering on YouTube.
Cool.
It was like a half-hour interview I did over the phone. It was awesome. It gave a lot of insight, so you can check that out. Also,
it's going to be on YouTube tonight for people to check out. Okay, Flyers Fan Media, right? That's what it is on YouTube.
It's Flyers Fan Media 93. You can check that out. My Twitter is _Chris Maher. You can follow me there, and the Instagram is the same as the YouTube, and Facebook. If anybody uses it, it's just Chris Maher, just my name. If anybody has me on there or whatever, but. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Always a good time talking with you. And go Flyers.
Absolutely. And for those of you guys who are not aware, if for some reason you watch this and you don't know that we have another podcast that we do together, it's a little more sporadic, but it's been definitely for me. I just got a new job and all that, so I've been busy. I'll tell you about that after this call. I told you a little bit about it, but yeah, so it's been busy, but we do have Don't Panic as well, which we do live. So if you guys are checking this out, try to make sure you sit in with us and Chris where we do it over StreamYard. It's super fun because you guys actually get to feed into it. So it's like us babbling about what you're talking about, which is cool, instead of just what we want to talk about. What'd you say?
We kind of just go back and forth, like kind of half like screaming at each other because it's fun, but
it's pretty much our phone calls over video.
Yeah, because at one point I was just like, why don't we just make this a podcast?
Yeah.
Like we talk about this all the time.
Yeah. I feel like
an hour and a half. Like
yeah, you're not wrong. All right. Well, thanks, buddy. Everybody, please like, subscribe, and share this out. Follow us both. Obviously I'm YWOLOK, Wolok on pretty much everything. You won't have much trouble finding me. I don't know if you're listening to this the first time, it'd be weird at this point, just because I feel like I have the same regular audience. But thank you again, everybody, for listening. Super, super appreciate it. Let's hope the Flyers can continue what they're doing, build momentum, and stay healthy, which I think is really important at this point in the season. Even though we do have the holidays, and there will be an Olympic break coming up. So it is opportunity to get healthy after that as well. And Carter Hart for Team Canada. Let's be honest. He's the best goaltender.
Be for USA.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he'll probably. Well, he's got to play better than he's been playing lately, but there's a chance. All right. Well, another shout out to Jim Steaks. Jim Steaks on South. Buy their cheesesteaks. Don't talk to me if you don't. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like I always like super mean about it, and then I feel bad immediately. But yeah, thank you again. Thanks again, Chris. Appreciate you coming on. And yeah, remember, always stay gritty.